Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this week's video, I wanted to show how I made this illustration. This was a huge learning curve for me, but I'm happy I ended up finishing it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. So let's get started. Alright, so I had some fun with the symmetry tool on Procreate, and at first I thought this was a good idea to create characters and really focus on their proportions and get them how I want them to look in an easy and fast way, especially since I was going to be designing multiple characters for this illustration. But later I'll show you how it bit me in the butt. Using the symmetry tool is super cool until you realize how stiff your drawings are, and since I focused on just the face and not the body, some characters look like they're a bit disconnected later on. Like their head is just pasted on a body I drew, so I did have to redraw some. I probably should have redrawn most of them. There were a couple that I think turned out fine, but I think it ended up being very stiff at the end. So here I have a couple that I'm happy with. I'm kind of arranging them in, I wanted this to look like a picture, like a school picture, so I'm having them sit on bleachers. And this is what I mean. You can see when I'm drawing the body, it really looks like the head is just pasted on there, and I couldn't find good proportion. I couldn't find like good sizing for it, so some of the heads are a bit too big, some too small, but luckily this is just the sketching phase. I go back in later. I had this character that I did an expression sheet for that I'll be sharing in next week's video. I just traced that sketch and then I had her in the middle because I kind of wanted her to be the main character in this illustration and in this world that I'm developing. So I'm continuing the sketch, and then I'm creating a couple more characters. This one I wanted to experiment with some braids or locks, and I wanted him to be leaning back, kind of propping his arm up on the bleachers behind him. It's so wonky at this stage, and I do move him to the other side of the canvas. This one was probably my favorite one, and I did a turnaround of her that I'm going to be posting soon. So I really liked her. I really liked her proportions, how long her face was, and I liked the outfit that I created with her as well. And then I thought I'd add in another character, one that's a little bit more awkward. You know, the shy kid in class. And then I have the layout ready. So after the layout, I go in and I start to line these characters. I do wish that I lined all of them together, but I get very bored, or not bored, I get very eager when I'm drawing to fill in with color and essentially finish the piece already. So you'll see me, after I line the main character, I'll already color her in. And I just decided to work on each character and jump around however I see fit in this illustration. I try to work as organized as possible, but I kind of just let my mind go, really. Yeah, I couldn't get the main character to look like the expression sheet on the left there. It was giving me a lot of problems. I think I got it okay at the end. And then I moved on to the character I liked the most. This character, I wanted her to be more of an artsy person, so I put her in cargo pants. And you can see I had to redraw her feet underneath. A tip here that I wanted to share was if you're having trouble drawing the clothes on top of a person, I would draw the anatomy underneath, and that helped me see what she would look like if she was sitting straight forward like that. So drawing in the legs underneath and then turning it down and drawing the clothes on top really helped me. If the structure on the bottom is solid, then anything on top should be fine. And then I wanted to show how I lined these characters. I used the 3B pencil in Procreate. And I just went in, I screen recorded this one so you could see how much I moved the canvas. This is not real time, this is sped up. I took a lot more time on this. This is probably my second favorite design. I had a lot of fun with her later on when I color her in, you'll see. I just try to go in keeping in mind the anatomy, but also trying to have a good balance of straight versus curves, which is something I definitely still have to work on. And I do take advantage of the tools on Procreate, so I liquefy where I need to liquefy, and to save some time, I draw one side and then I flip it. I think I did that with the arms. I might not have, but I definitely did that with the legs. So I drew one leg and then I duplicated it, flipped it horizontally, and used it for the next one since she is facing forward. And during these designs, I do try to keep in mind what kids wear these days, or middle schoolers wear these days. So I put her in a sweater vest, I put a little choker on her, and then like a tennis skirt. I'm seeing tennis skirts are back in style. So I did that. Ooh, and I added more lining on the places where there's shadow, like this under her skirt. I did that with all the characters under their chin. So the shadow that's cast by their chin onto their neck, I filled it in black. I find that it adds a lot of dimension just with line, and I really like how it looks. And I also noticed that checkerboard print is back, so I wanted to add that in as well. And I start coloring her in here. I used, what did I use? I used a watercolor brush by Max Ulichny. It's part of his Max Packs. I believe it's like the 2B Flow or the something Flow brush. And here I wanted to share some mistakes. So earlier I told you that I bit myself in the butt a little bit using the symmetry tool, and that caused me to have to redraw some of these characters. One being this character, this kind of awkward character. I wanted her to look unready for the picture, like her glasses were kind of falling off. And you can see me struggle here a lot, so I just decided to go back in on another layer and just redraw her completely. Try to get her head in the right position and her body in the right position. She still looks very awkward in the illustration at the end, but I just decided I had to move on. So I tried my best here. Here is another character that I had to redraw. I wanted him to be leaning back a little bit, but his head just looked like it was just pasted on a body and I couldn't describe it. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, like if the head was too big and the proportions made no sense, so I liquefied this to the gods. And one, it made the line art very blurry, because the more you liquefy, the more you shrink, it messes up the original clarity of the line art, so keep that in mind. And I was too lazy to go back in and redo it, so I just tried to move on here. I filled him up with color, and I do like how he turned out at the end. And then now just going in, trying to finish up all the characters. So finishing their line work and filling them in with color. And for reference pictures, I just googled on Pinterest, I believe, trendy outfits, and I tried to design clothes with those pictures. So this is the character that I wanted to experiment with locks or braids. I'm not sure what they're called, but I wanted to show how I tackle curly hair or textured hair. So I started with drawing kind of snakes, picturing how it would wrap around his head, and then I went in with the pencil and I just drew kind of squiggly coils inside to add that texture. And I like how it turned out. I think it still gave a very sketchy look, but it did describe what his hair looked like. And it was fun to color in later because I added beads to the ends of his hair. So this was an opportunity to add more color to this character. I then put him in clothes, and a trick that I like to do is I take a picture from Google of a patterned shirt, and I put that underneath with the transparency down on a multiply layer. So it gives me a pattern that I don't have to draw on top. I just erase the sides and I fit it onto the shirt. I did it with this character as well. I got like a Def Leppard t-shirt that I erased around the edges, liquefied onto his shirt, and then turned the transparency down. I did that for the main character as well. This is a good trick to get some patterns in without having to draw them, and you can't tell from far away either. And then lastly, I worked on the background. I found a picture from Google of bleachers from a school, just a random bleachers picture, and then I distorted it to fit the perspective that my characters were sitting on. I used that as a background to kind of trace on top, so I just used my select tool and filled in bleachers that way. Added a cast shadow as well, and then duplicated that to make bleachers behind them. And I tried to follow perspective as best as I can, so I thinned that out a bit and stretched it. Added a couple of layers in a multiply to give it the color I want and a little bit of texture at the end. That is how I got the finished illustration. Mrs. Bott's 8th grade homeroom class picture. And that is all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will be sharing the expression sheet soon and the turnaround I did of the one blonde artsy character as well. So see you guys in the next one.